Hey everyone, PincheAls here. So I'm live, the first time in a long time, and I'm live for a big reason. You guys know me. You guys know exactly what I do for a living, for fun, for everything that I do for the community and the world that we all live in. One of the things that I talk about and usually, you know, I don't talk much about in my life is my family. You guys know my wife, Carlene, our two kids, Alonzo and Sammy, Alonzo and Lonnie. One thing I don't tell you guys about is my direct family. As the title states, Maria de Rosario Mora. My mom. Born December 5th, 1958. Deceased September 4th, 2023. I lost my mom on Monday due to a heart attack. I found her on Wednesday. Because we haven't had communication with her in quite some time. My mom was a very dedicated woman. Loves her family, her children, her friends, acquaintances, people she took care of. This woman of 64 years of age left this earth way too soon. I'm here to introduce to you guys my mom and my three brothers, which includes me. Maria was born in Mexicali, Baja California in 1958. Father, Jose Isidro Mora. Mother, Manuela Vasquez Lopez. I never got to meet my grandfather due to the fact of the age differences in the country, especially in Mexico back in the early 20s. So you guys have to understand that that's very different times. My grandfather was a very older man when she married my grandmother. So I got the privilege to meet my grandmother for damn sure. And she always talked about my grandfather, but was still very, very tight. She never liked to talk a lot about him because it's a difficult conversation that she would have. So I don't know much. But my grandma was an amazing woman. And that woman taught me everything I knew. Taught me how to be the man I am today. Now my mom, on the other hand, she was the man of the family, the provider. She was the person that took care of everything. As long as she did everything in our family. My grandma did the raising of us three: Alonzo, Sammy, and me, Al. Throughout our childhood, my mom wasn't around very much. And she wasn't around because she wasn't there for us. She wasn't around because she had to work. This woman in the early 70s crossed the border during very hard times in Mexico to proceed that better life that America provided. And she did it. She crossed that desert that so many people would lose their lives off just to try to do it and to give someone a better life. And she did it with many other folks with her. My mom, throughout her entire life and career, okay, first job was just whatever she can find as like doing work. Later in the 70s, she found a job in a place called ITT Cannon in Orange County, California. We lived in a little tiny one-bedroom apartment. My dad, who I will not currently will disrespect at all, but I will say wasn't around my life for a very long time. Very, very little. It was my mom and my grandmother. She found a job at a place called ITT Cannon, and she became a machinist. For a woman in the 70s to become a machinist was unheard of. Not many people will go out there as a woman and say, I want to work on machines and make parts. Okay? It's not a thing, guys. It's not a thing in our culture, in our Hispanic DNA. It's just not what we do. But my mom didn't think otherwise. She set out to be something bigger than herself. Okay? Living in Santa Ana, the ghettos of Santa Ana. All right? We grew up very, very poor. But my mom didn't want anybody to know that. My grandmother, being the person that she was, at her age retired. Just so you guys know that, retired and decided to take it upon herself to raise us kids. On top of my mom working literally 24/7. We would see my mom, I kid you not, maybe 2 days a week. She would work double shifts as often as possible just to keep a roof over our heads and, you know, that basic clothing. And you're going to see this. You guys are going to see some awesome photos here, okay, guys? Just because I've been sitting through binders and binders of photos trying to find those moments that scream my mom. And obviously, you can see by these photos, you know, family. You know, family is what I was born, raised to teach, that that's all that matters. Family is one of the hardest things that I talk about. If you guys ever watch my channel, you know, and follow me for so long, you guys know that I love my friends, I love my family, but I never talk about my personal family. I talk about all my friends. I talk about, cars and car clubs and stuff like that. I have been silent for about a week since my mom passed. And it's been a surprise for all of us in my family. You guys have no idea how many phone calls I have to make to tell that my mom is gone. Now, see right here, if you look right in the middle, that's my little brother, Sammy. Big man there. Military kid, growing up, living the dream, the American dream. My little brother, awesome person. That's my mom. That's my mom right there. So, Maria, but most people know her as Rosie. And if you're my direct family, you guys know her as Chayo. Was full of life. Anything you would ask of her, she will do. She will do with no problems. I can come up to you and be like, you need money? You need whatever you want. I got you. This woman will literally open her entire purse and buy you whatever you need. So you're living, happy. Even though she'd be in the background eating just beans and rice with the old ass tortillas. And believe me, we've had moments in our lives where we've hit some pretty big lows. And some people would never think of that, especially the way I people know me, and they don't see me as a person that comes from poverty, but I've come from a very, very poor family. I mean, food stamps, welfare, and even lower scenarios than that, where we couldn't even get welfare and we'd be scraping the bowls, selling everything in our house just to have a roof over our head for another month. Rosie, Maria, Mom, I love you. And I have no way to express the loss I have right now. And for you guys who have lost your mom, I'm there with you guys. My mom loved to travel, loved to go out and party. She was young. She was single for a while, for a long time. One of her favorite things to do was to dress up and go out and party. My mom was a smoker. My mom drank. Who didn't? We all did as kids. Parents are no different than us. My mom loved to go to the beach. Loved to just be with family, eat, go out, and just have a good time. This right here is my brother's little girl. In the 80s, growing up, this is one of the apartments we lived in. And this was in Santa Ana, California, off of a street called Mini Street. We lived in a very, very diverse community where we lived in Santa Ana. If you guys ever been in Santa Ana, in the small little towns, like little ghettos in Santa Ana, most of those communities were very, very mixed. We'd had Vietnamese, Cambodians, Hispanics, and whites living all together in the ghettos. There was no race. There was no issues with us. We all played together. This photo was one of our birthdays. And these are some of my cousins. And you can see, this is the living room, the kitchen, all in one. Such a great childhood, We had nothing, but we had the entire world in our hands. It was a lot of fun growing up. My mom made sure she can get us at least something, a cake, food. All the neighbors would make food for us. They knew our living situations, and we would all come together and just have a melting pot of just culture in one little tiny apartment. This one bedroom apartment in Santa Ana housed me, my older brother, my little brother, my mom, my grandma, my my mom's either boyfriend or husband, and one or two uncles in a one bedroom apartment, maybe 900 square feet. One bedroom, one bath, one door, one living room, and that was it. But we didn't care as kids. We slept in the living room on the floor, and we thought we were living the life. My mom was very photogenic. You guys can see here in these 3 photos. She loved the water. She loved going out with her friends. She loved being out and about. A lot of her friends, again, knew the living situation that we had growing up as kids. And they never would ask her, to pay or do anything. They would just invite her everywhere. And us as kids, we would go with her. She would drag us along. Sometimes we didn't want to go. And we'd be there, and we'd be in places we never even knew. I've been to San Felipe. I've been in many places in Mexico, a lot of places in California. As a kid growing up, these are big adventures, especially being very poor. These are places that you wouldn't expect, So most of the times in our years of our lives, it would be literally the backyard on a train track, or in a a pavement, and that would be our year. Our summer is just in the backyard playing with all the other kids. We had some really fun friends. It was such good times. My mom, again, as you can see here in the photos, was very photogenic and just loved taking photos. Right here in this photo, my mom, her uncle, my uncle and my stepdad, Roberto Macias. This was one of her new boyfriends that she came up. This was the one man in my entire life, and he's the one on the right holding the purple ball. Sorry, you guys on Instagram, if you guys are watching this, head over to my YouTube channel or Facebook and check it out. He's the one man in my entire life I actually ever called father or dad or papa. Had some really, really fond memories with them and with my mom, obviously. This is in the photo in the 70s, right here. Birthday party with my little brother, my older brother. I wasn't around yet, and this was in the 70s. Actually, no, I'm sorry, 85. I was two. Sorry, I'm looking at the photo. October 4th, 1985. I was 2 years old in this photo, and this was, I think, my older brother's birthday. Again, all the family here involved and together. It's just being together. Thank you, Justice. Family was one of the biggest things my mom cherished. And really, really enveloped that culture. Try to push that culture within all of us and my brothers and all my other family. Honestly, she was the glue to a lot of our family events and the reason why a lot of our family got together. And as you can see here, another family friend photo here with my mom at work. And this was at ITT Cannon. Actually, no, this was at Callaway Golf. This is later in the 90s when we moved actually all the way to when we moved to Vista, California in the early 90s, due to the fact that we literally ran out of money. Welfare ran dry. Food stamps didn't exist. We couldn't take care of ourselves anymore. We had to move somewhere. So we ended up moving to my uncle's house, where literally 3 to 4 generations of people lived in one house. In these two photos here, You can see my grandma, my aunt, and my dad's mom all in one photo. This one when life was getting a bit better for us because my mom got a man in her life that actually cared about us. And we moved to Santa Ana, and this actually was off of Lion Street. So if you guys know what where Santa Ana is, look up Lion Street. It's a pretty nice place now. Growing up, the gangs were everywhere, but we lived a happy life. It was a very cool place to live. School was right down the street. We had a lot of fun there. This is me in junior high. That's me right there, guys, with the full head of hair. Look at that. What's going, Mark? Again, if you guys are watching on Instagram, please head on over to YouTube or Facebook, and you guys can see what we're talking about. I just post on Instagram so people can get on over to the channel and watch the video. If your mom is with you in your house, you know, before I move forward, if you haven't talked to your mom in a long time or in a minute, please, by all means, call her. Tell her that you love her. Tell her that, just give her thanks, you know? Because you'll never know when you'll lose her. Because it's one of the hardest things you can do is lose your mom. It's even harder to say goodbye. Just go up to your mom. Just give her a hug. Give her a kiss. She asks why, just tell her just because. You're my mom. That's all that matters, dude. Should be never a reason why to give her a hug and kiss. Just tell her because you're mom. Give her a call. Tell her that you miss her. Tell your mom that you love her. I don't care if it's been a while since you haven't seen her. I don't care if it's, you know, you guys just don't talk. I don't care. Because you'll never know when you lose her. And you're just going to have that emptiness not being able to say goodbye. Or at least, you know you love her. I lost my opportunity. I had a chance. I regret it every time I don't say I love my mom. I honestly do. Just stop right now, guys. Just stop watching. Just give her a call right now and just tell her you miss her, you love her. If she's there in the room, go up to her and just tell her, you know? Just tell her thank you. Thank you for giving me life. Thank you for being my mom. Because you just never know when you're going to lose them. You never know when they're going to go, man. My mom made the most of everything she ever owned and took advantage of it. This is me in elementary school. That sofa has seen a lot of people. There's my cousin Sergio on the far right, my cousin Ernie, my dad, Roberto Macias, and I know his name. I'm just really bad with it. But that's one of my uncles. It's my aunt Lupa's husband. I had an amazing childhood because I had family. A lot of my family always came over to our house, or we would go to their house. And we had nothing, but they always had something. So we would always come over and eat and hang out and just have family. There's my cousin Vicky and my tío. I think that was my tío Beto. I don't remember the guy on the far left. Again, this was in the house in Vista, California, where I grew up as well, in a very, very, very warm and house that we would hang out at, and we literally lived on the floor at that house, and we didn't care. Why? Because we had a roof over our heads and family around us, and that's why my mom worked her ass off. This was in Mexico, where my cousin Trini, in the dress, I believe it was her quinceañera. I can't remember. It's been so long. Her dad on the left and my mom. And you see my mom is always around, always there to want to take a photo, always there and trying to be the extra attractive woman, you know, Miss Available, even though she had her boyfriend or her husband there all the time. She always tried to be the woman in the red dress. You know, guys, if you guys ever watched The Matrix, that one woman that shows up in the red dress, or just in any movie, just the woman in the red dress. That was my mom. She always had to stick out. She always wanted to make sure they knew she was there. My mom, growing up, had amazing friends. These friends were always around. Always around to cheer my mom up. Always around to just be friends. You'd be surprised that we met people that I was like, who's this person? Oh, this is the guy over here. This is the CEO of this company, and this is this guy. We would be like, how do you know all these people? And my mom would be, because I work my ass off. I make sure people notice me. My mom never made a fortune. I'm telling you that right now. Even though this woman would work 10 to 16 hour days on a daily basis, she barely made enough to scrape. You know, my grandma up in the left-hand corner. And again, there's my mom in the red outfit right there on the bottom left. And then her brother on the bottom right. Again, always wanting to be in the center of attention. Always being that person that wanted to be in the photo. My mom, even though she was always in photos and everything, but we were always there. There wasn't moments where she would be like, nah, you guys can't be here because, you know, I'm busy. I'm busy doing something. No, my mom made sure her children were thought of first. Because again, family mattered to her more than anything else on this earth. These pictures, man. And these, again, my little brother Sammy on the upper right. All three of us, Alonzo, Sammy, and me on the bottom left, and then my older brother Alonzo on the bottom right. I don't know who that little girl is on the upper left. But you could see, that living room right there in that photo was our old living room. And that was the lifestyle we lived. We didn't care about products. We didn't care about having the fancy things. We cared about being family. There's my mom again. All her friends at Callaway Golf. In here, you can see my mom taking pictures of us in school or the local kids. Oh man, on the bottom left, I can't name all these kids, but if we go on the top right, that was Benny. No, not Benny. Tony Baloney. I believe Benny in the middle. Eduardo. A bunch of other kids. I mean, these are all the kids in the apartments where we lived in Santa Ana. On top was, I think that was my first or second grade class. I can't remember. It's so long ago. But again, my mom kept all these photos. She was the keeper of these memories. I didn't know she had some of these photos. I went through a lot of her stuff just recently, and I didn't know she had this stuff. It was insane. Like every time I see something, it's just like, wow, that's my childhood right there. I lost a lot of these memories growing up. I lost a lot of them. But seeing the photos, they just come right back, you know? You see here, my grandma in the upper right-hand corner with my cousin Pera. And you see on the bottom, my grandma with my uncle and my mom again, drinking some beers. Again, my mom loved to party. She loved to have a good time. She wasn't afraid to do what people wouldn't want to do in the 80s. Honestly, man, if you guys look up the history, and the 80s and the 70s weren't really kind to the women, you know? They weren't the best. And here you just see my mom going at it. Just so you guys know, throughout the 70s and 80s, my mom was a machinist. If you guys aren't catching up. She was a machinist. It's just not normal. Women didn't do this kind of work back in the day, but she did it. My mom did some really cool work growing up. I was super proud of her. There's me. That's me right there in the 80s. I think that was like second or third grade. And that's my mom right there. You know that old Oldsmobile? And I think that's holding my brother Alonzo. I'm not 100% sure. Again, I don't have my mom around anymore to confirm these things, you know? I don't have a lot of my family that are around that, you know, that were here to tell me this. I will next week. I'm hoping that a lot of my family is going to show up, you know, and tell me these stories that I need to know. I need to know these stories because I want to know more about my mom. Here's me again, and then my brother and me, Sammy and me, just, you know, looking our finest. Oh, this right here is one of my favorite photos because you can see the melting pot of people that lived literally in this apartment complex. You'll see my older brother on the top, my cousin Sergio. The two kids on the far right are Cambodian. Wesno and Widget. Okay? From Cambodia. My cousin Lupita on the far left. Tony Baloney right next to her. Edgar, Benny, the kid in the blue shirt I believe is me. I forgot some of the other kids in here. But that was the melting pot of our apartment complex growing up as kids. And my mom made sure, if you look in the background, the ghetto blaster was there. We used to bump that thing all day on birthday parties, on just weekends when we would wash the car in the backyard. Actually, we didn't have it in the back parking lot. My mom was a character, man. Again, we didn't have much, but my mom made the most of it. There's me and my two brothers right outside the apartment complex, you know. My mom made the most of the events of our photos and all that stuff. This is a photo of my older brother as a baby. This is actually the first time I ever seen him as a baby, honestly. That's my older brother. Is a 12 years old, I believe. And you can see the 80s weren't doing him great, doing him justice. I mean, look at them tube socks and his black shiny shoes. And them shorts, yo. I'm just saying, if you guys weren't around in the 80s, this is right here. This is literally the definition right here. Sometimes my mom, we couldn't afford much. So we would actually dress up and go take photos in places where where we're allowed to take photos, so we couldn't you know, this wasn't in an apartment. This was actually like at a display where my mom would take us to take photos because we couldn't afford a Christmas tree. You know, we couldn't afford a lot of stuff. So she would take us to these places and hey, stand here. We'll take a photo so, we can show the family that, we're having a nice Christmas even though we ain't getting anything, That was my mom. That's my mom in a nutshell, guys. There's all three of us, and it was my birthday. That cool, groovy shirt, Oh, man. For you Volkswagen guys, and the people that love watching my channel and everything, my mom owned a brand new Mark II. You can check that out in that photo. My mom was a VW lady at heart. She always drove Fords, but she had every now and then a Mark II. I'm not gonna say. I wish I had more photos of this because I would love to see this car more of, but there's a lot of stuff that just disappeared. Because we moved a lot. Again, my mom loved to dress up. She loved to be pretty at all times. My mom was a person, was a character. Anything to make someone smile, look at her, get that attention, My mom was just awesome. She'd take us places where it cost no money to get, no money to get there. As long as it was free, we could go out and play. And this was in Fresno, California, at a random lake. My mom would always find somewhere fun to go. She'd be like, "Oh, let's go here, let's go here," and she'd make sure, do they charge to come in? No, come in, you can come play. She'd come out and she'd bring out the sandwiches, and we would go out and play, She'd hide a lot of stuff from us. She wouldn't want to tell us. We would go everywhere that would be free. Again, it would just be affordable. Because it was hard growing up. My mom loved taking pictures, guys. I'm telling you, I have hundreds. But I didn't do many. I wanted to just, introduce you to my mom. And my brothers, of course. Just to show you guys, we take for granted a lot of things in life. We take for granted things that we shouldn't really, honestly. Oh, man. I have an awesome story about this photo. You can see how 80s we were in that photo, guys. And funny thing, that staircase, me and my little brother, you know, we would we get plastic bags when we go to when we go to the grocery store. We get plastic bags, tie them together, rip them, and wrap them around our arms, and jump off the staircase, thinking the plastic bags will hold us up, like we could glide down with the plastic. It was hilarious because we would get the kids in it, and we would jump, and we'd be like, "Oh, go higher, go higher," and then we would actually start hurting ourselves pretty bad. Right underneath that staircase was a huge mailbox, like for all the apartments right there. And there was a day that we were all playing like football in that little, I guess you can call it like square. It was like a plaza with a big patch of grass. And we would just throw football and just, pretend we know how to play football, right? One day, one of the kids threw the football over underneath the mailbox. I ran and went to go get it. Like nothing. I still have the scar up here. I wish I can show you guys. But I went underneath the mailbox, and without thinking, I jumped up and crammed into my head legitimately almost half an inch of mailbox corner just right through my head. And I was gushing blood. My mom was in the apartment right to the right of that hallway. And immediately my mom comes out. "What the hell happened? What's going on?" I'm over here screaming, yelling because I'm pouring blood coming out of my head. She come inside. He said, "Come inside," and she'd like clean it off and like literally glue it together. And he's like, "You're good. Go back out and play." I'm like, "What? What?" My grandma's like, "No, no, no, no. He needs to stay in the house. He can't just go." My mom's like, "No, it's not that bad." And then the next day I went to go get stitches. Because again, my mom would have to assess if we had the money to go do it. My childhood was amazing. I'm not going to lie. My childhood consisted with these little kids right here all the way until I turned almost like 8 or 10 years old with these kids. I honestly wish I can reunite with a lot of these kids here on this sofa. The kid right next to me, because I'm the one on the far right, that was a Cambodian kid I loved so much. His family was so open to my family and our culture and their culture. Our cultures mixed a lot. And we hung out literally day in, day out. That was Huasna and Widget next door, actually like 2 apartments over. We would literally take our screens off our apartment windows because they were so low hanging, and we just pop out our heads. "Hey, you want some tortillas? Some tortillas?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, I want some tortillas," because my grandma would be in the morning cooking in the morning, making tortillas. And the kids would all come out of the apartment, and they would hear all the other kids come out, and my grandma would be in there making tortillas, and all the kids would line up at the window, okay? And I would be like, "Grandma, the kids are here." And my grandma would make, "Okay, hold on." She'd make a tortilla, slap it with butter and some salt. One kid, next kid. And then there'll be an assembly line of a bunch of kids just right out the window eating tortillas, freshly made from grandma. And that was, my childhood there with all the local kids. That's how we bonded. It was awesome. We all bonded over food. We all bonded over just being kids and not being, told that we can't play outside or anything like that, This photo is my little brother, Sammy, who got hit by a car at a very, very young age. As you can see, he had a full cast from his hip all the way down to his left leg. He had no movement at all at that left leg growing up. That was almost an entire year of his childhood on that one bed. I made the most of it with him growing up as a kid. You see me there just hanging out with him on the floor because he couldn't stand. He wasn't allowed to walk. We would literally pick him up, move him around the living room or the house. You see that living room right there? That's the entirety of my living room in that 1-bedroom apartment. Right behind there, you see in the back of that photo, that door was the bedroom to that apartment. And on the far back on the far left was the bathroom. We only had one. Remember, in this apartment, it was me, my little brother, my older brother, my mom, my grandma, my mom's boyfriend, my uncle, and I believe I had a random person that would come in and out. There was 8 of us in this apartment growing up. My mom, honestly, made the most of it. She slept in the room over there. My grandma slept on that blue bed. That blue bed right there was my grandma's bed. No one was allowed to sleep on that bed except for grandma. Everybody else slept on that brown, dirty ass rug that everybody ran in and out of every single day. We lived on that carpet for a long, long time. I would never give those memories up for anything in the world. This is my cousin Sergio on the right, with my older brother, me on the left, and my little brother on the right. In Santa Ana, we'd go fishing. My older brother would go fishing, and we would just watch. I remember this place pretty well. We didn't catch anything, but we'd go out and have fun. This right here was our family. Goofy, fun, exciting. We never knew what would happen next. It was just how it worked for us. My older brother Alonzo loved to skate. This guy was good. I'm not kidding you guys. He was an amazing skater growing up. Vision Streetwear, if you guys ever heard of it, was a huge brand back in the 80s. And we used to hang out with super professional skaters that weren't professional skaters in Santa Ana and in Long Beach. And we didn't even know they were famous until they actually became famous later. My older brother always had the cool look growing up. You know? See that skateboard down there? That was his. Same apartment. My mom always had to be the lady in the photo. She always took us out. Sometimes we were pretty embarrassed about what she would wear because we'd be like, Mom, why are you wearing that? Mom, you know? Everybody's mom is like that. If your mom flaunts it, you get kind of uncomfortable. My mom flaunted. That was just her. That was my mom right there. We had family in Mexico. We had family in California. We would see each other on a monthly basis. This is my Uncle Chano and his wife Luz. We would visit him and his daughters every year in Mexico. That's my older brother right there. That's Alonzo. Again, we were happy. We had nothing, but we had the world in the palm of our hands growing up as kids, you know? Again, that's my mom. My mom always had to be the pretty one everywhere. This was in Santa Ana behind our apartment complex. There was a warehouse that we would go play around after school. And we'd go in there and jump the curbs, do tricks. That's how I learned how to skate, was because of my older brother. He's the one that got me into skating growing up. I was actually pretty decent, but I was nowhere near as good as him or my little brother. This is a photo, and I believe, I'm not 100% sure, of my great-grandfather back in the 20s, early 1900s pretty much. I don't know who these two men are, but I do know, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 50-50 sure that that's my great-grandfather on the left, I believe. All I know is that my great-grandfather, Jose Isidro Mora, was a huge man, and had a huge influence over my mom. And that's why my mom has always been very big in her ways. There's my wife. Everybody knows the wife, Carlene, and my grandma, mi nana. Manuela Vasquez Lopez was my mom. She was the one who took care of us growing up. However, my mom, even though worked 7 days a week, was my mom and took care of us in the background. If you guys know me, I talk more about my grandma than I do my mom. And it's not because I hate my mom or dislike my mom. It's because my mom had to work and make sure I had a life. She provided for us. My grandma raised me to be the person I am today. But my mom cemented the person that I am today. Again, my mom wasn't the most photogenic or knew how to take photos. Believe me, she's like, just take a photo. Look at me out here. I'm right here. Take a photo. She would just say, take me a photo. Just take a photo of me. Just take a photo. I'm like, but you're wearing like nothing. I'm like, no, that's what y'all. That's what I want. See, that's just my mom. Growing up, we moved place to place to place to place. There'd be very, very few years we would be in one place. We cemented our life in San Diego, California, or San Diego district. But a lot of our lives was in Santa Ana, in Calexico, in Vista, California, back to Calexico, back to Arizona, back to Santa Ana. It went around a lot. We bounced around apartment through apartment through apartment to family sofa, family floor, family backyard. I kid you not. But my mom always made sure there was a roof over our head. That was her main priority in life, that her kids would never be in the streets. She would work legitimately, sometimes 24 hours, come home, sleep for 2, and go back to work. She dedicated a lot of her free time to our education. My older brother was actually a really good saxophone player. Believe it or not, she pushed that on him a lot. My mom made sure we had an amazing education, or tried to give us an amazing education. My dad, again, Roberto Macias, would be in the picture later in our lives and help us become men, because we had women raising us our entire lives. He showed us a lot of cool stuff growing up. He showed that a father in the family makes a difference. He showed that a stern voice can make someone listen and focus on what they're doing. But my mom would break that mold and say, "It's okay, mijo. Don't be sad. We'll figure it out." Later in life, my mom would meet this man here, Stephen George. This man right here, I took for granted. I shit you not. He was a total asshole a lot of times, but there were reasons for it. We were teenagers, man. We were idiots, honestly. But, you're a teenager. What are you going to do, right? This man gave my mom a lot. This man gave my mom a future for us. He was able to provide something that we never would have, and that would be money. Awesome guy, but heavy drinker. Things would change for the worse later down the road. But This is the first time I ever lived in a house and I had my own room because of this gentleman. First time I actually did not sleep on someone else's bed or someone else's floor because of this guy. I've known this guy throughout most of my high school life, and I wish I could tell you thank you. I did give you a call a couple of days ago to tell you what happened to my mom, that she passed. If you see a lot of these photos, my mom loved the beach. There would be always a reason to go to the beach. There's always a reason for her to go to water. There was always a reason to go to someone's family's house. There was always a reason to be somewhere other than our home. There's my grandma and her moo-moo, her signature moo-moo. This was an interesting time of our childhood in Santa Ana. This was an old Dodge van that we would literally travel all over Mexico, California, in this one van with that seat not even bolted to the back. That thing, if anybody braked hard, would literally launch us forward and we just roll it back and do it again. My grandma, my mom, my kids, my brothers we'd stuff like 10 people in this thing and just go around. We would cross the border with 10 people in this thing to Mexico or the US and no one gave a flying F about it. Here's a picture of my mom in ITT Cannon. I don't know this gentleman in the photo, but that's her at a machine, being a machinist. This is one of her biggest moments in her life when she became a machinist. There's her mom partying it up as always. Never a dull moment for my mom. She smoked. She was actually a big smoker growing up as a kid. I mean, who wouldn't when you're working, 16 plus hour days? Smoking and drinking was a way to, escape from the hard days that she would have. There's me in my younger years. But again, my mom always tried to make the most of it. There's Sammy and me, just chilling in the backyard. Trying to see, again, my mom at the water. There's my mom with her best friend, Mary. She met this lady in Vista, California when she worked at Callaway Golf. She has passed away, but that woman was in her life legitimately every week. This lady taught my mom how to live free and have fun. My mom had a very unusual taste in clothing. I kid you not. These are my brothers later in life. Sammy on the bottom, Alonzo on the right, and me on the left. That's my little brother Sammy right there. Man, I love these photos. My mom and my brother's old girlfriend, Becky. Awesome girl, by the way. This is me as a kid in Fresno on the river. Found a bunch of tadpoles there. There's my mom again. Again, my mom was a character. Oh, I missed that van. That's my mom in the early 1970s with my older brother Alonzo. My mom, Maria de Rosario Mora, born December 5th, 1958. Passed away September 4th, 2023. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for everything you've given me. Thank you for the life that you've provided. Thank you for being there when I know you weren't there. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Thank you for the life that you've given me. Thank you for the smiles, the tears, the fun, the downs, the ups, the birthdays. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for making me the man that I am today. Thank you for pushing me to be the person that I want to be and allowing me to be the person that I want to be and allowed to be. Thank you for accepting my douchiness growing up as a teenager. Thank you for taking care of me on my downs, my ups, my breakups. Thank you. I will never forget you. And I will keep you forever in my heart, Mom. And I'll use you as a point of reference for everything I do before I do it. I thank you for all the hardship, for all the bullshit I gave you and accepting it, because Mom, you took a lot from us. You took some beatings from us. And I am sorry. But thank you for holding it together. I know now you are in a better place. Please, don't suffer. Don't worry about us. Please be happy and proud. Because I was proud of you. I was very proud of you for keeping it together. Thank you, Mom. Thank you so much. That is my mom, everybody. And I thank you for watching this, staying here with me and meeting her. Because you know who I am because of her. And I wanted you guys to know a little bit about my mom And I want you guys to understand you only have one mom in your life. You'll never have more than one. If you're mad at her, if you don't talk to her, if she's right next to you, if you have her phone, call her. Tell your mom you love them. Like I said before, you'll never know when you're going to lose your mom. And when your mom is gone, that's it. You don't get another chance. You don't get another opportunity to say bye. I lost my opportunity to say goodbye. I have to say goodbye now to my mom in a coffin. I wanted to say goodbye to my mom when she was old, when she saw my kids grow up. I wanted to see my mom old. She died at 64 years old because she didn't want to tell me she was sick. She was afraid for me because I had a heart attack. I almost died. No parent should bury their child. I almost died. So more than likely she didn't want to tell me. More like she didn't want to say she had heart problems. She didn't want to get me worried about it. You guys, if you see your mom not feeling good, not feeling right, you go up to her and you tell her, let's go to the doctor together. Let's get a checkup. Let's find out what's going on, why you don't feel good. Because you can lose them legitimately the next day. And you're going to not be able to say goodbye. Do the most you can to keep your mom around for as long as possible. Because you only have one. You only have one mom. You don't get a second one. Call her up and just tell her, I love you, Mom. I love you, Mom. And I get it. If she says why, just tell her just because. Just because I can call you and tell you I love you. I'm going to be gone for a while, guys. I'm going to be gone for a minute because I have to get my mind straight. I just want to make sure you guys got to meet my mom and her quirky awesomeness and her flamboyant style. Thank you for watching this with me and staying tuned for as long as possible. Thank you. All of you have a wonderful night. And be safe out there. And always here at PincheAls Garage, we give you a thumbs up and deuces when you see another dubber on the road. Maybe when you see another family member or another mom, just say, hey, you're awesome. You guys have a wonderful night. Be safe out there. And as always here at PincheAls Garage, we're going to break, we're going to fix, and we're going to repeat. Peace out, everyone. You guys have a wonderful day, a wonderful night. a wonderful morning, because you never know when you're going to go.